Only a few more NBA injury report videos for us to do. Adam and I, we've got today, we've got Thursday, we've got Friday, and then it's going to be the end of the regular season coming upon us. For today, who knows what's going to happen with some of these rest situations. We're going to speculate a little bit when we get later on in the show. We also have some other players on the injury report to talk about. Do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you guys have any questions at all. Any players get ruled out unexpectedly or any kind of rest situations / tanking occur, leave us a question in the comment section below. Also, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you're signing up at Prize Picks for the first time, use the promo code Awesemo. Get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit, as well as 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Now let's talk about a familiar situation, Adam. Bogdanovic, Gallinari, both questionable. Seems like it's been a staple of the second half of the season, these guys getting listed as questionable in the injury report. Not the first time I've asked you this, but what happens with the Atlanta Hawks if neither Gallo nor Bogdanovic are able to play?
Yeah, so I mean, if Gallo is out, well, one way or the other, I expect Luau Cabarro to still be in the starting lineup. If Gallo is out, maybe you get a little bit more playing time. But even yesterday, without Gallo, TLC only played 21 minutes, so that's certainly far from a guarantee if it's only Gallo that's out, because, for example, Bogdanovic is very likely to be in the closing lineup instead of TLC. If they're both out, then you get a situation where TLC could potentially play more. You probably get more playing time for DeLon Wright as well. Looking at those prices on DraftKings, TLC at 3,400 on a slate where right now we don't have a ton of good cheap value. If they're both out, he would look okay. Same goes for DeLon Wright at 3,800. But I think really for either guy, but especially for Wright, you need them both to be out. And then you also would just get more secure playing time for guys like Kevin Huerter and DeAndre Hunter.
Next team to talk about, we've got a rest situation for the Detroit Pistons. Kelly Olynyk is being held out, and that comes in addition to Marvin Bagley. He's going to be out for what I presume is going to be the rest of the season with his injury. Does any value open up that you want to get to in the Detroit front court? In most situations, I think this would be a pretty obvious yes, but minutes do get a little hard to project on a team like Detroit. But is Isaiah Stewart or anybody else somebody you're looking to roster in DFS?
I think Detroit, like you said, very difficult to project because we've seen them, like most teams, even this time of year, you have a pretty good idea of what the rotation is going to look like based on who is starting. Detroit has taken it a different direction where we got a game where they just benched half of their starters at halftime. We got, like last game, for example, a 4-point difference in score against Indiana. Closing lineup just featured none of the normal players from Detroit, even the ones that were playing. So I think it makes it very difficult to rely on guys like Cunningham or Sadiq Bey or even Isaiah Stewart to play a lot of minutes. But it does, at least it allows you to take some shots, not that they're safe, but take some shots at, Braxton Key, Isaiah Livers, Carson Edwards, Frank Jackson, guys like that. There's no guarantee that they play, 28 minutes. They could very easily play 20, but based on, kind of what Detroit's been doing with their rotations and the fact that, some of these are younger guys that otherwise are just not going to get NBA minutes. I think it is reasonable to think that you get some decent run for those guys that haven't really been in the rotation this year.
All right, let's talk about a spot. I cannot be happier that this guy is most likely not going to be playing today. I've gotten crushed by rostering Alex Caruso in recent slates. Last night, he got hurt, somewhat early in the game, only ended up playing 22 minutes, had a back injury. He is listed as doubtful today, so it seems like he's going to be out. Not the easiest matchup in the world for the Chicago Bulls going up against the Boston Celtics, one of the more difficult matchups possible. Is there any value you see opening up with the likely absence of Caruso?
I think it should increase playing time probably across the board with guys like Kobe White, Patrick Williams, and Ayo Dosunmu, but they're all sub 4K on DraftKings. And like I mentioned when we were talking about Detroit, or Atlanta rather, there's not a lot of good cheap value right now. So even though none of Dosunmu, White, or Williams are great point per minute guys, at sub 4K price tags without Alex Caruso, it does make them look a bit better. I think it's likely that you're getting, 26 to 28 minutes from Kobe White. I think you're probably getting around 30 from Williams, around 32 from the Sunmu. So any of those guys actually end up looking like pretty good values at their respective price tags.
All right, time to speculate on some rest now, Adam. I don't even know how to discuss the OKC situation, so we're going to table that for later. You guys watch the deeper dive live before lock.
I'm actually curious. I have a theory there. I'm curious what you think of it.
Oh, okay. Give me your theory.
So I pitched it to Lofty this morning. I think he was on board. My thinking is that OKC goes back to their normal lineup tonight. You might still see Simpson and Kalaitzakis in the rotation. I don't, have a strong feel on that. My theory is that yesterday against a really bad Portland team where it really benefits OKC to lose, they were trying to do everything that they could to not lose. They still obviously won. Today on the road at Utah, I don't think they're going to be worried about accidentally winning the game. And when you talk about guys like Aaron Wiggins, Pokusevski, Teo Maledon, it's not like these are veterans or anything. Like, these are still guys that you would think OKC wants to develop. So my theory is that you get their quote unquote good players back in the lineup, because it's probably not going to matter and they're going to get destroyed by Utah regardless.
Yeah, I think that does make sense. I could get on board that. I mean, the other thing that's funny is these are not guys that were even really in the rotation when the team was healthy early in the season. So they're going to like the backups to the backups to the backups at this point for tanking purposes.
The Lindy Waters thing yesterday was just amazing. Played 4 minutes, scored 8 points, and they're like, get your ass back on the bench.
I saw somebody online saying, like, how disappointed are OKC fans going to be that Pokusevski isn't playing tonight? It's like, first of all, who's going to OKC games at this point? The other thing, too, is were they upset when Pokusevski wasn't in the rotation at the beginning of the year? He doesn't matter that much. I think he's a really high upside player. He's good for fantasy purposes at this point in the season. But the idea that, like the OKC, like, oh, my God, this is an aggressive tank because they're not playing Pokusevski, the whole thing was just dumb. But I think what you said makes total sense there. And yeah, I think we probably could expect them to go to what would be a more reasonable rotation. But like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll have more information on the deeper dive and live before lock in terms of who the Thunder are actually going to be playing today. The other one is the Phoenix Suns, because the Suns are on the tail end of a back-to-back. They've already got the #1 spot locked up this year. I don't see any reason to play any of their guys tonight against the Los Angeles Clippers. We've already seen the line move a whole bunch. Phoenix was a 3-point favorite. Now the Clippers are a 3-point favorite. So if you ask me what I think the most likely outcome is, I think Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder. I don't think any of these guys are going to play today. How do you think the Suns handle rest situation?
That's my guess as well. If one of those guys played, my guess would be Mikal Bridges, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they rest everybody. I think you're going to see very similar to what Memphis did a few games ago, where Dylan Brooks was the only guy that played. They rested, Jones and Bain and Jackson and Adams. There's just no reason for the Suns to play their guys here. The Clippers do have an incentive to play their guys, even though they can't move in the standings. At least the Clippers, are still trying to get their rotations together, trying to get, Paul George worked back into things and all of that. The Suns are the same team they've been all year long. They've been relatively healthy the entire season. There's nothing they're working on at this point. So I'm with you. I expect them to rest guys. We haven't gotten that injury report yet. And it is a situation where, like, if that injury report comes out and nobody's on it, then I assume they're playing. I don't think you're going to get like an 8 o'clock, oh, we're resting everybody. I expect them to give us notice, but for now, I would lean towards that being the case.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, when the 1:30 p.m. Eastern time NBA injury report came out, the Suns didn't submit anything. So the reason there's no news on the Suns yet is because they haven't given us any updates. I expect we'll get them sometime in the near future. But once again, stay tuned. Check out the deeper dive live before lock. We have a clearer picture of who's actually going to be in or out for the Suns. Other than that, that does it for us today. Once again, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck today, and pay attention to all the news because there's nothing more important right now.